Welcome back, everybody. Going into hour number 2 of RollPlay Nebula Jazz. Quinn, where to begin? I think that you have been escorted to. I think we find you in Empress Zapathar's personal torment chamber. I think that you're restrained. I guess you're like stripped down to your loincloth, which is what you were wearing before. It's torn slightly, like it's still shorter than before, so it's like extra sexy.
Oh,
yeah. And you have some signs of being like tortured. Maybe there's some like cuts on you, and there's like blood on you, and you look like you've been beat up a little bit. There are some threatening looking implements around, like an urn with some kind of hot pokers and like coals in it, and like a table with some scary looking serrated blades. And you're tied to a wall, probably restrained by like snake themed like wrist restraints, like a serpent biting its tail like wrapped around your head.
We're a theme society.
Yeah, if anything, yeah.
One theme, and that is it.
yeah, exactly. And I think that we see one of the vipers setting down like a scary looking knife, and she looks behind her, and we follow her gaze to the Empress, who is kind of waiting in the shadows. We see her glowing green eyes first, and then she slithers forward into the light, and the viper nods and gestures to you and says, "He's all yours, my lady." And she like slithers up towards you and looks down at you. And what does Quinn look like in this moment? You've just been tormented by the Empress. You're undergoing intense physical pain as her victim. What is your resolve? What do you look like?
Unlike most lizard men, my weird, thick, like lizard man oil or whatever the hell we decided exists on lizard men, that's gone. He's very dry. He's like dried out, and the only wetness on him is like blood, little droplets of blood, and like dry blood. And he still looks very defiant as she comes into the room and gives her like a "do your worst, lady."
Yeah. Now, did you? This is going to be maybe a sensitive question. How much of an effort to hide the scepter was there?
I would say that the scepter is no longer on me.
Okay. Where would it have been then?
It is on Crocsep, but no one knows but me.
Ah, okay. So we
like
get
to hug my dude, but
yeah, as she
ulterior motives.
I like that. Okay. Well, let's see how successful that was. I'll let you make a sneaky roll. And then we'll see the flash.
Okay.
I think it's a clever plan, but there is a chance that maybe it didn't work.
So do you want clever or do you want sneaky? Either one, they're very low.
I would say yeah, whichever is the better of the two. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see difficulty. Let's see difficulty 2. Just call it difficulty 2. I think you.
Hey!
Yes! Clever Quinn. So we flash back as she steps forward, and we get a nice like long shot of you in your loincloth. And that's the point at which the audience would be like, wait, what about the scepter? And then we cut back. We fade back to you hugging him and like tucking.
It's all black and white.
Yeah, sepia, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, you tucking the scepter into his belt before he disappears as you hug him. And so she like slithers up to you, and looks down. And do you look up at her? Do you say anything, or are you quiet?
Yeah, no, he looks up at her, but sort of a scowl, and says, "So you're done letting your lackeys do your work?"
She scoffs and she says, "It's called delegation, Quinn. It's what the people in charge do." She like scowls at you and she says, "You never understood how to command."
Is that what you did? Commanded others to kill the other Serpentes?
She laughs and she says, "And what if I did? What would it matter? They were fools, short-sighted fools."
Quinn just spits. He's like, "It matters."
She shakes her head. She says, "They were holding us back, Quinn. We can do so much more." And she like holds her hand out, and this like serpent of shadow and light kind of like emerges from her palm, like hisses at you and disappears. She says, I've discovered such power in the ancient warrens below the city, the places we were forbidden to go before. I've seen such glorious things.
And Quinn looks at her and looks sort of around, and he's like, the things you've seen, what you've become, this isn't our world anymore. You made a mess of it, and I'm here to fix that.
There's no going back, Quinn. Only forward. And this is the new way. No council, but a queen. Powerful. And she's like glowing, and like as she's getting more stoked on herself, you can see the like kind of floating her like Medusa hair, and like this kind of crackling in the air as she's getting hype on magic. And she says, the world you left behind, Quinn, is gone. Those fools that cling to the old myth, they will blow away like so much dust. And from the ashes, a new order will rise. And she like reaches for you with her like hand. Do you turn your head away? Like she's going to like touch your face.
Oh, no. I'm just straight on staring at her like, bitch, I'm going to get you.
She says, let me show you. And she puts her hands on your face all of a sudden, like she snaps forward. And we get that like kind of Mass Effect, like Prothean, like the kind of flashes of vision
it's
stuff.
A little green, a little red.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mostly green. Yeah. Like, and it's you see visions of the Empress's like army of like vipers spreading out from Slyn, but not expanding as before, not growing this empire, but conquering other worlds. You see peoples enslaved. You see like great war and bloodshed spreading out from the planet, and you see her. And she's wearing like, you know, her like cool battle empress garb. She's got like armor and like a cool headdress, like some emeralds on it. And then at her side, you see yourself similarly accoutred in like, you know, big like black spiky shoulder plate, you know, tier 5 warlock gear, looking cool.
I had to farm long for that. You know what? It was worth it though.
Yeah, and you see yourself at her side, you know, on the bridge of her mighty sorcerer battleship. And mostly these visions surround getting revenge. You see Elaxatron on fire. You see you see the Elaxatronian like war machine being disassembled. And you get the Empress's vision of this future of chaos and bloodshed. And then when she takes her hands away, it all kind of like fades, and you take a deep breath, suddenly being like shocked back to reality. And she says, "Beautiful, isn't it? What we could accomplish together." And she's kind of like crouched down, is like near your face now, just like staring at you with these like, and her face is like, you know, a meter tall. So she's just like right up, like close to you, like hissing, and her tongue is like flicking out and kind of like touching your shoulders.
Quinn stares into her eyes and says, "We had our time, and we squandered our empire by doing the exact same thing that you want to do now. We can't go back. We're done."
She shakes her head and she says, "Oh, Quinn, short-sighted Quinn. Perhaps in time you will come to love me as you should." And she like leans back away from you, and you can see her vipers. There's a couple of them like waiting eagerly to resume the torment. And she looks to them and she says, give him no moment of rest. And they slither forward, like ominously getting ready to like keep harming you. And she goes back to doing Empress business. So she leaves to let them torture you. We get that kind of Han Solo cut, right? Where it's like the machine is coming to your face and cut away. So meanwhile, at the Temple of Feelings, what have the three of you done? Someone has taken Croxep, the formerly unswerving, and they've taken him away to like care for him, to help him get he's in therapy right now. So the three of you, Aurora, Rex, and Eugene, you've been given some time like alone. What are you doing when we cut back to you, when we see you? where are the three of you, and what's
Oh, so
the conversation?
we're not being guided to the temple yet. We're just like chilling, waiting for.
Yeah. They're like, we have some things to attend to, and they've got to like deal with this guy, this Cruxup guy, and they've given you some space to like, get reunited with your friends. So what does that look like?
Right.
I think Rex is sat like cross-legged, arms folded, with his eyes shut, as Eugene is just like retailing like everything he did down to the minute of like leaving the group.
Absolutely.
And he's just like letting it play out with his eyes shut, just kind of like can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah, because y'all thought, look, everybody thought that old Eugene couldn't handle it all on his own. Well, guess what, suckers? I did great. And you know what? I don't even need y'all. But I'm gonna stick with you guys because you need me, obviously. So, but I did so great on my own. That,
so this speech, like as you're speaking, Eugene, like we hear that early on. The shot is it's like a tight shot of Rex's like shoulders. You're like Rex, you're leaned up against the wall. There's this beating down like the sun on you, and we can hear Eugene talking, but slowly the like high end gets turned down, so it's just this kind of like sound.
Yeah.
Like we can hear it doesn't go any slower, but like we can hear it pushed down in the mix. And then you hear a voice. You hear a man's voice, melodious and deep. Say to you, Rex, well, quite the situation you've gotten yourself into, isn't it?
Well, I think like as she's going through and I'm just sitting there like, and I found some desert flowers. They're beautiful. They're white and they blossom open. And I've made a necklace for the Crocsep. And so I'm like, oh yes, that's nice, Eugene. And I'm like sitting there doing this, making this flower as Crocsep won't look at Eugene.
Yeah. And all of that stuff, like, we see all these things happening around Rex, but Rex, at some point, like Eugene's babbling in the heat of put you to sleep, and you open your eyes, and you don't see Eugene, you don't see Aurora, you don't see anything. You're in the temple grounds, like you're in the same place as you were. And yeah, standing there, just like looking at you, kind of one hand on his chin, is the prince that you consume.
Oh God.
And he's shirtless, of course.
Okay.
And the sun is like behind him, giving him this kind of like halo and making his golden skin glitter in the desert heat. And he's just said, yeah, like it's a fine mess you've gotten yourself into. And he's just like looking at you.
Yeah. Rex,
handsomely
confused, looks around and there's just no one else. There's none of the lizards, none of the people. Eugene and Aurora aren't there. And confused, he brings himself up off the wall and kind of like puts his hands at his sides and just like, I guess, waits quizzically to see what this guy has to say. He recognizes him immediately as the prince because he ate that dude.
Yeah, exactly. we flash back to like you jamming like a leg in your mouth.
Like the foot.
Yeah, and so he kind of looks around, and he says, so what do you plan to do now? You've lost your friend.
How are we having this conversation?
And he laughs and walks over to you and shakes his head and he says, oh, Rex, you'll come to understand in time. And like puts a hand on your shoulder.
Rex kind of like lifts the hand off and takes a step back and he's like, who killed you?
He shakes his head and he says, it doesn't work that way, I'm afraid. You see, I only know what you know. I'm an after effect, a hallucination of sorts. The Mingasi, we're special. You did something to yourself when you consumed my flesh. You're changing, Rex.
Rex kind of like wipes his brow and you can see he's like sweating a little bit. Because even though it's an illusion, like the sun feels real and he's left the shade to like have this conversation. And he just looks back and you're kind of vague, aren't you?
He shrugs and he says, well, when you're a pseudo-mystical hallucination, you play with what you got.
Rex nods and he's like, all right, so what's gonna happen to me?
He says, well, that's up to you, isn't it?
Rex is just ridiculously confused at that. He doesn't understand at all. He kind of like frowns a little bit and like tilts his head. Doesn't say anything.
He says, well, I'll tell you this much. You need to get off this planet. And you need to take that scepter with you.
Well,
if the Empress gets her hands on it, and he shakes his head and he's to say, you're going to have worse problems than indigestion.
Well, Quinn's got it, and I got to save him.
Yeah, he quirks a like perfectly tailored eyebrow at you, and he says, does he? And then just like turns to like golden dust and just blows away. And you blink, and Eugene, Rex has just been standing there staring at you, like moving his lips a little bit, and like he hasn't blinked, so his eyes are all like dry and just like
Right.
just like dust on his face. And then he like blinks hard, and suddenly is like, I don't know, are you trying to like snap him out of it? Or
Yeah. I've been doing like a buddy. Are you okay? Is this heat stroke? Is that what happens to sharks? I don't know. What do you need? Are you okay?
I think Rex gets brought back by like a little slime hand slapping him across the face.
I was just gonna say, yeah, you wake up and all you can see is like slime coming at you. Just like, oh, it worked. Oh, thank God. Look, if I was boring you, all you had to do was say something, man. You didn't have to like shit. You scared me.
Rex immediately kind of like looks around and he sees Eugene, he sees Aurora, but he doesn't see Crocs. And like with the last thing the prince said fresh his mind, he's like, where's the big guy?
He said he had to go to the bathroom. I don't know. I didn't want to follow him. That's a little weird. So I stayed back and you know, Eugene, I thought your story was great. Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay.
It had romance. It had sadness. I tried to touch on all the bases, you know, to like keep it fresh.
I could feel the fear when you were describing it.
Thank you.
For you. Okay.
Rex pushes himself off the wall as they're having this conversation and just like walks away to find Crocs.
So
just,
we
like wipes the sand off his face.
Yeah, we cut to, as you leave, the camera follows you and then cuts to a room, and it's inside one of these like stone structures, and there are a bunch of stools sitting around in a circle, and there's like a handful of these like lizard men, and Emotok is there. And Crocsep is like kind of sitting on the stool, but not really. It's just like kind of propping up his butt, but he's mostly on the floor because he's so big. And we hear him saying like, well, if Crocsep, really honest with Crocsep, problems begin at childhood. Crocsep not understand love of parents. Crocsep not feel like he have worth in society. And then like the other lizards are like nodding and he says, Crocsep just not feel supported, you know? And everyone's like, yeah, it's okay. One of them like pats his arm, and then the door opens.
Like a giant flower bouquet around his neck.
Right. Yeah. And then the door opens, and everyone kind of like looks over, and Rex, you're standing in the door, and you see Crocsep kind of like they all look over.
Is he sitting in like a little chair or something?
Yeah, he's got like the equivalent of like a plastic office chair or whatever, like just kind of like around.
He's like, it's like barely holding together. He's just enormous on this chair.
Yeah,
and
it's holding up one cheek.
Rex kind of just like he circles like the group, and they're all like looking quizzically at him, and he just like walks over behind Crocsep and he like pats him on the shoulder and he says, "This might feel funny." And then he looks down and he sees like this outline of like this long object tucked into the belt of Crocsep. And he just like looks at the group and kind of like holds up a finger and reaches back behind Crocsep. And you see Crocsep's eyes like,
yeah.
And you see Rex emerge with the scepter and out loud about Quinn. He's like, that smart son of a bitch. And
and Crocsep looks at you, Rex, and he says, what is that, friend Rex?
A gift from our friend Quinn. And he just pats him on the back again.
Yeah, and he kind of cocks his head at it, like, what? They don't understand, and they're all kind of like looking at you. And then Emotok looks over at you and he says, you can see now you've stepped into like the circle of stools, and he says, Rex, this is a sacred place. You have entered the circle of feelings. Please share a feeling with us, Rex.
Rex kind of like hesitates and like throws the scepter over his shoulder. And he's like, I'm pretty hungry.
And he shakes his head and he says, are we not all hungry for our own acceptance? Dig deeper, Rex. And all the lizards are like perched on their chair, just staring at you, like blinking and flicking their little tongues out, waiting for your emotional moment.
Can I like walk in and stand in the doorway as he's doing this?
Yeah, I think that's fine, Aurora.
I think what happens is like you just see this wipe, and then Aurora like wanders in and opens the door, and you see like another chair is in the circle, and Rex is sat there, just like pouring his heart out.
Oh, yeah, that's so good.
And he's like as you walk in, he's just like, and sometimes I just miss him a lot.
Right, you're talking about like you're like after a string of bad relationships, sometimes.
It's like, is it? You look as you come in, Rex is like, look at the group. He's like, is it me? And the lizards are like, no, it's not you. And that's what you see when you come in. He's like leaning on the scepter, and he's like, is it me?
It's like an hour later.
Yeah, like the sun is starting to set.
Yeah. And Crocsep is like nodding, and he pats you on the back, and he's like, Crocsep think it'd feel good to share, and he like hands you like a little like hanky. And then Aurora, you getting bored outside listening to Eugene tell stories, you would like go looking for Rex, and you find him here in the sharing circle.
I like walk in, I'm like,
yeah, when you come in, so I guess what's funny is you come in, and the lizard men, they all kind of like start like whispering among themselves, and Emo talk to keep control of the situation, because now like a woman has entered the space. He puts his hands up, and he says, good sharing today, everyone. Thank you. And kind of like signals the end of the little meeting, and they all get up, and a couple of the lizard men go over to a table where there's like a big bowl full of bugs. And they're just like chatting and like, eating bugs over by the table, and everyone kind of like the tension of the moment kind of breaks when you come in.
This older lizard walks past Rex, and like at this point he knows them all by name. Right. And the lizard's like, he looks at Rex and he's like, thank you. And he's like, yeah, try those exercises for your hip. I really think that, it'll make the world a difference. Yeah. And the guy just like pats Rex on the arm and just walks past to like the insect buffet. Yeah, totally. And then like a couple of Yahe and Chochu both are like, they like, pat you on the back, and they're like, yeah, good sharing today, Rex. Thank you for that. That's, as a warrior, I understand that sometimes the hardest enemy to defeat is the voice of sadness within. You're doing a great job, buddy. And like pats Rex just like nods at the knowledge, like he's taking it in.
Yeah. And we look up on the wall, and they have like, it's in like hieroglyphics, because it's old ancient lizardman temple, but it's also basically like a Feelings Anonymous meeting. And there's like a big scratched like hand chiseled plaque that has a jar with a circle around it and a line through it. And like all these rules of like, Feelings Anonymous. And so, yeah, these two like pat you on the back, and they have a little thing full of bugs they're eating and just like chatting. And then Aurora, you see this happening. What are you going to do?
I walk up to Rex. I'm like, have you been crying? Are you crying right now?
No, you're crying. What the
What are you doing?
I don't like the sand. And he immediately just puts his goggles on.
I thought you were looking for Croc. He's right here. What happened? That's been an hour.
I wasn't looking for Croc. I was looking for this. And he kind of like waves the scepter and hands it.
And that's when Crocsep says, like, he's nearby, and he turns and he says, hi. He says, you said that thing was a gift from Quinn. Crocsep did not even notice him place it on my body. What is it? A weapon?
Something the Empress can't have. And then Rex kind of looks at the priest. And
as he says that, that's when I start. Actually, what this is if we, and I don't know if you want to science me now, but I'm like, we found this on this one giant, evil warships in space. That's where we found it. It was really cool. Oh, you should have been there. And then he put his hand in the light really quickly when we turned it out, and he grabbed it. He grabbed it from this giant ship. Oh man, and the doors, they were skulls. It was
So Aurora's just telling the whole story. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get like really into like and I'm like putting my arms up and describing everything in detail to Croc.
Rex just ignores her and looks at the priest, and he's like, "We need to talk."
Yeah, and Imatak nods and he says, "Of course."
Cool.
Yeah. So you do you like take him aside, or is this a meeting with like everybody? Do we cut to like another like a place?
We cut to like a meeting room, and
Okay.
And like Rex kind of like hands the scepter to Eugene, and he's like, "You're up." Hinting at Eugene to explain what the scepter is and the situation, that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Rex knows nothing about the scepter, so.
Actually, I mean,
sorry.
well, both of us would know about it by now, or wouldn't we know about it? We've both, like, Eugene's done research, and I'm assuming shared. Plus, I wanted to take it to also like my family. I told them about it. My family, the Hive, I guess I've told them about it. So
Yeah, I think we probably like double down, sort of back and forth, like explaining what we know about the scepter.
Right. Which is let's reconfirm what we know.
Let's go over this one more time.
Let's go over it again.
Right.
So what do you know about this scepter?
We know that depending on that there are many different groups that want it. Some of them believe it to be just a item that like a warlord needs in order to be a
is
warlord.
it like Thor's hammer, pretty much?
Essentially, to the Agarans, it is the Agaran scepter of ascension, and it is a necessity to declare a new like chief of the Agaran space fleet or whatever, right? Like their civilization, the ruler has to have it, and part of why they believe their civilization has not been able to get back on its feet is because they lost the scepter.
Right.
So they're after it because it will bring glory back to the Agaran people.
Right,
Bring
but
it back from destruction.
right.
Yeah.
But what it actually is it's a key to activate a weapon that the Alexatronians created. Yes.
It's a Mingasi weapon. So the Mingasi Imperium have some kind of like super weapon.
Right.
That the Alexatronians built for them. But it requires the Scepter of Ascension to activate. The Scepter of Ascension is the key to the weapon's power.
Right. So a lot of people want it, but depending on who they are, they either have more or less information about what it actually is. And so a lot of people are after it.
We also got framed for the murder of the High Prince.
We did.
Because we had it in our possession.
Well, that's what we believe is the reason.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think
So in this meeting room, it's you, it's the priest, and old Slarp. And old Slarp, I think when you mentioned that, when you're like, we were framed for whatever, he says, old Duke Mako's a tricky one. Been sending emissaries back and forth from the planet, speaking with the Empress. Think they're in cahoots. Old Slarp's been paying real close attention. And he says, best to keep that doodad away from the Empress.
Yeah.
Wait, you think that she knows about this too? God, is there anybody who doesn't know about this thing?
He says he says to you, old story Slarp knows about sorcery, forbidden here, old powerful corrupting magic. The Empress hungers for it.
Oh, she's got some of that. We saw it firsthand.
Yeah, and he gestures with a wizened hand at the scepter, and he says, Agarans have a similar sorcery. What gives them their frenzy, their power? That scepter. She could do bad things with it. And he nods, and he says, but she's too powerful to stand up to. And he looks over, like kind of draws his attention over to the priest, and he says, not without, well, you know who. And Imatak says, he says, this is why your friend is so important. Quinn, We believe he is the Blixnort Libalacta, the chosen one. Not only will he teach us to feel our feelings as we have not before, but he will defeat the Empress and lead us into a new golden age. It is written.
Well, then that's gonna be different.
Yeah, I like Eugene. You're just like, hi.
What I did in real life is what Eugene is doing now. like what Eugene is thinking right now is, I mean, everybody just tried to fight the Empress and lost super hard from my understanding. So I'm like, I mean, yeah. I mean, sure.
Oh man.
Rex stands up and he puts the scepter on the table, and he points to it and he says, I was hesitant to save Quinn because I didn't know the fate of this scepter. And now we do. We need to find out where he's being held and get him out. That Empress, she's got to be doing Empress shit. She can't be there all the time.
Emotech nods and says, the Empress rarely leaves the palace. It is her home and source of all her power, but perhaps with a distraction. If you could draw her away, then yes, an opportunity to rescue the Blixnort.
I got it. She wanted me, right? What if I am the bait and you guys get him out and then I run really fast away? Really, really fast away. And maybe take Croc with me. Well, he'll go with me because I need a bodyguard, but she wanted me. I don't know why. Maybe
wait.
Hungry.
Yeah, no, this could actually work. Yeah, you stay with the big guy. You draw her away. I get really pink and furry. Don't make it weird. And I go with you guys. We gross out all of the little minion kids and we get Quinn back.
Yeah, it could work. It's how could it not work? How?
The priest, Emotok, says to you, he says, we are not practiced warriors. Much of our battle is fought within, with our feelings.
Yeah, but look at this guy. And I point to Eugene. I'm like, just look at it for a second.
Are you still pink and furry, Eugene?
I've worked some of it out of my body. Now I look kind of like, you know, those Starbucks unicorn frappuccinos that they're selling right now.
Gross.
That's kind of how I look, because
So
it's not entirely out of my system yet.
When you say that, or you're like, look at this guy. Yeah. Emotok looks over and it's like,
See? It works.
and he says, we may not be warriors as Quinn is, but we will give our whole heart for the Blixnort Libalacta. You must show him. And he shakes his head and he says, rescuing him from her prison is only the first step. You must bring him here. He must undergo the trials. And in that, he will need your help. And I think that he says, I guess he's like, before we don't even cut. It's a movie, so we don't even need him to justify it. He's just like, he will need your help. And we cut to you, and you're all in the temple grounds. So these six massive pillars. One of the pillars we can't see. It has we see it, but it's covered. It has a big canvas cloth draped over it. The other pillars we see as we look around. One with the etchings of the lizard men looking nauseated and vomiting and dizzy and looking terrible. One where the lizard men are crying and wailing and moaning. One where they all look terrified, but they're all shaking in fear. One where they're laughing and celebrating, the one we saw before. One where they seem to be not fighting, but enraged, tearing apart objects and shaking their fists and baring their teeth. And then the hidden pillar. And so we get this long pan around. And Emotok is speaking to you, and he says, it has been foretold that the Blixnort Libalacta will not believe that he is the chosen one. And he shakes his head and he says that his companions reveal to him the feelings he had inside all along, his true fate and destiny. And he looks at you, and you're all kind of like collected. And we get this like really like heavy-handed, dramatic like shot of you with the pillars, like one pillar behind each of you.
Right. We all like,
Yeah, and he says,
we all like appear in front of different pillars.
yeah, exactly. He says, I believe that the gods have brought you here to fulfill that purpose, that you are going to illustrate to the Blixnort Libalacta, to your friend Quinn, what his destiny is. So once he has been saved, bring him here. We will hold the forces of the Empress at bay while you help him feel his feelings.
There's like, after he does this big dramatic monologue and there's a couple seconds of silence, I turn to Rex and I go, yeah, so, okay, so she's going to go with the big guy and then I'm going to go with you and we're going to break him out, right? Is that going to work?
And I pat Rex as soon as I'm like, hey, he's going to feel feelings like you did earlier. And I just I wink and then like walk away as they decide what they're going to do.
Rex like growls at her and then he looks at Eugene and he kind of like strokes his chin and he's like, we're going to need a couple more hands. And then he looks at like, is it Tlukchu?
Yahe and
Tlukchu. He like looks at them and he's like, can I count on you guys to help me get the Blixnort?
Yeah, and they like nod at each other. And these guys are like warrior caste lizardmen. They're the biggest ones around here. And they nod. And one of them, Yahe or Tlukchu, says, Quinn freed us from our chains. And the other says, we will help you, Rex. We'll help you free the Blixnort Libalacta.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. Rex just like gives him like the vice grip handshake. And it's like a close up. And then I guess like our party's assembled. So I think Aurora's going to go with Crocs, make a diversion, and then the four of us are going to infiltrate the dungeon of the palace.
Okay, cool. So before we go into like Operation Save Quinn, Jesse, do you want to have like another scene like in the dungeons or with the Empress? Do you have a scene that you want to do, or should we cut to like mid torment where like days later like something is happening and your friends are here?
Whatever. I mean.
Give him a scene. Give him a scene.
Well, I want to know if Jesse, like, if you have something that you want to illustrate, because she's just going to keep like sneering and torturing you and being like, "Do you realize yet the error of your ways, fool?" Like, it's gonna be a lot of that if you let me run it. So I just wanted to see if there was anything you wanted to do or say.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Set it up.
Yeah. So, cut back to Quinn, and he is just even more ragged and tore up than he was before. And his scales, some of them are like whitish, like dry and nasty looking. And it appears that all the implements have been used at some point. They're all, nothing is clean anymore. And all the serpent viper guards and they're just sort of like unable to break him.
Yeah.
But he is definitely beat up and he's a mess. And then the queen appears, or empress appears again. And
yeah, and I think we start on that conversation where one of the vipers exhaustedly like throws one of her scary torture implements down on the table, and she looks up at the empress who's been like watching, and she's like, "I'm sorry, my empress. We've done everything we can. He's withstood more pain than it doesn't make sense." And she puts her like huge hand on the viper, and she's like, "Do not worry, sister. You have done your best." And like kind of like the viper like downtrodden is like, "No, I'm a no good bad torturer. I can't." And she's like, like sadly like leaves the scene. And then the empress approaches.
Quinn looks at her and gives like a smile, and his teeth are just like cut up and
right. Yeah, you just like have all this blood in your mouth.
Yeah. He gives her a smile and sort of spits out a little blood, and says to her, "You just don't understand, do you? While you've been here plotting and scheming, the rest of the galaxy's moved on. I've seen it. Our ways are ancient and outdated. These new races, they're young, but they're stronger than you will ever know. They taught me that No amount of dark magic will ever be able to snuff out their light. You lost the minute you killed the council and went down this path.
And I think she like slaps you in the face, like, because that's the only response she has. She sneers at you and like slaps you, and she's like, she shakes her head and she says, "Then you're truly lost to us. What a shame. I had hoped to have had you at my side in this coming age. Very well. If you won't serve me willingly, I'll use your body for my own means." And she turns and she says ominously to one of the Vipers, "Retrieve the device." And the Viper looks at her like, "The device?" And she nods and she like nods solemnly, and the Viper like bows and like disappears to retrieve the device. And she says, "I gave you a chance. I gave you the gift of exile because I respected what you did for the council, Quinn, but now I see I should have killed you when I had the chance so long ago. Not a mistake I will make twice." And she turns to leave unless you say anything to stop her.
Yeah, as she walks away, Quinn says to her, "Whether I die here or by your side later, you will lose." And just sort of gives her the stank eye as she walks away.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So she slithers away. So we cut to like external shot of maybe like to walk me through this. So what's the plan, everybody? Where's
yeah, guys? What's the plan?
What's the plan to save Queen?
I'm real curious how you're gonna save me.
Oh, it's so great. I'm the bait, and Croc's gonna be hiding somewhere. Giant lizard man just hiding. Cool. And then they're gonna go in and gross everyone out. And she's gonna come after me, and I'm gonna get on his back and ride him into the sunset.
Rex has a better idea.
I'm like
Rex,
saying to the group, like, this is
so
my plan and everything.
There's obviously like this bazaar in front of the palace, and Rex kind of goes to Croc, and he's like, "I know this sucks, but I need you to just tear shit up, just wreck everything, wreck those stores, make a commotion. You and Aurora, you're gonna draw the guards outside, and we're gonna manage to sneak inside."
And yeah, Krogstep, he puts his big hand on you, Rex, and he says, he looks you earnestly in the eyes, which he has to turn his head because he's got his eyes on the side of his head. And he turns his head, he has a big yellow eye, and he says to you, he says, "I have learned, Krogstep has learned much in his time at the temple. There is a great anger inside him, Krogstep. Krogstep looks forward to using it to free Quinn. Krogstep will, as you say, wreck shit, and do so happily."
Rex grins and he like pats him on the shoulder, and then he like throws a sideways glance at Aurora, and then like leans into Crocs, and he's like, "Keep us safe for me, buddy."
Listen, I just want to say that my plan was really good too, though. I just want to throw that out there. So, I mean, can you at least just give me a little credit? I mean, we didn't have that high of a chance of succeeding, but it's only like 2% higher.
And so Krogstep comes over to you while you're talking, and he gives you like a pat on the head, like you're like a little animal.
You just see me like go like this each
time.
time.
Yeah, exactly, like you're Spencer. And he says, "Small female, do not worry. Krogstep will protect you. In times of old, Krogstep was most loyal guardian." He nods.
I grab his finger as we walk away, and I'm like, "Do you want to blow stuff up?"
And he nods, and he says, "Yes, very much.
Let's do it."
So the two of you go off to get ready for your causing chaos. Okay, so let's just have it happen. Let's just do the plan. And if you need to flashback to be like, and then we talked about doing this, that's okay. We can do that. So what's the opening scene of like Operation Save Quinn? What happens? Like what signals that the plan has begun? What's the first thing?
Can I ask a question really fast?
Yeah, sure.
On this planet, the men take care of the babies, right?
Quinn?
I mean,
they take care of the eggs at least?
It's a communal thing. So there's literally in spawns, there are thousands and thousands of eggs and little babies. So everyone works together. women run the government, but yeah, you could say that men are like drones and shit, like bees, for example. But lesser, like
Listen,
younger
both-
are also involved.
Sometimes both the men and the women, they do the same job. Just the men only get paid 70 cents to the dollar on it.
I was like, I'm trying to figure out how I can be inconspicuous until I need to like, huzzah, I'm pink and I smell like poop, right? So initially I was thinking, I would just wear like a cloak and kind of move along with the group, but be like alone, like
Be like Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
old
I just
Obi-Wan.
look like a short old thing that's moving along with these big youngsters. Yeah, I'll go with that. Because the other option was I'll be in a baby sling and then they dump me out.
I mean, you're essentially like semi-fluid, right? So they could put you in like an urn or a jar or something without.
No, that's my nightmare. Being jarred by reptiles. No, thank you. My mom told me about that.
I think-
No, go for it.
I was gonna say, so I think like the last thing we see is like Rex handing the scepter to Slop, and then we cut to like the bazaar itself, and we see like leaning up against the entrance to the palace against the wall by some like shrubs is like the two lizards and Rex and Eugene in like an old shawl type cloak, and you can't really see who's under it. You just see like two little green hands holding it closed, and Rex kind of is like, all right, now we just wait for the signal.
Okay, cool.
And then we suddenly like have some La Bamba that just starts playing throughout the air. And every time it goes to the chorus, or the first time it goes to the chorus is when you start hearing the explosions and the wreckage happen.
I just feel like this is like that scene in like God, where instead of Flight of the Valkyrie we have La Bamba, and instead of helicopters we have Sparky. Like,
there you go.
So yeah, so what's your plan to cause chaos? What are you and Croxup doing to draw the attention of the? And I guess what do you want to happen when this occurs?
I think that a good what's the signal when you hear the loud booms?
Well, it's not so much about the signal. It's like when you cause this, like you're just gonna go and make trouble. But what do you want? Like if you succeed, if this plan is successful, what happens?
We're attempting to draw all the guards out from the palace to deal with the commotion in the bazaar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
now
we
the
can
guards,
sneak
the
inside.
Vipers, I mean, we know their aspect, right? They're sworn to the Empress.
Yeah.
So they're not going to necessarily leave her side.
But they want me.
She
I'm gonna
does.
make myself very visible because they know that she wants me.
Well, we just want to get inside. Then, like, if we come up against some more guards, we'll deal with them. But like, so like, I'm envisioning like there's a bunch of guards at the entrance to the palace, and
Well, there are guards, and then there are her loyal goons are not going to leave her side, right? The Vipers
Right.
will stay with her.
But the guards on the outside will.
okay.
right?
So
I'm
you
not.
wanna
I'm not
create-
after her. I'm after Quinn.
Okay. You want to create an opportunity to sneak into the palace.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So go ahead and let's have you roll flashy, Aurora, because you're trying to get their attention. You're trying to draw the guards away with a distraction in the city. Yeah. Go ahead
Can our big boy also roll? Does he have stats?
He's gonna help. He'll give you a +1 to your roll.
Okay.
He's just like Croc's so angry, and you see him like smack over like a stool, and, like,
Yeah, he's just like,
people are screaming for the guards.
well, and you see two maybe we catch like two women that are nearby, and we see Yahe and Tolochu and Eugene, and I think they're sitting on the ground like holding bowls, and they have a little sign this little hand painted sign, and it's like, please help, no jar. And they're just like begging like money because they've lost their jars. And there are these two like serpent like women, and they look down at them and they're like, men. And then there's this explosion in the distance. Not an explosion because you don't have like bombs, but there's a noise, like a huge noise in the distance. Maybe we see a pillar tip over. And yeah, we cut to Croxup like pushing over a pillar.
With his laser eyes, he's actually making things explode, but it's not like a real like.
Right. Yeah. A little like pew pew, like dog laser beam eyes. Yeah. Okay. And so you'll try to draw some of the guards away from the palace to go and check that out so that it'll give them a chance to sneak in. Yeah. Okay. So flashy, let's say difficulty Difficulty 4. You have to make a pretty big scene to draw the palace guards away.
No.
So you got a 2, right? Because you get a +1 for flashy.
Listen, so I am the happy-go-lucky mechanic of Elaxatron, and they said to cause chaos, and I am just totally enjoying this like Harley Quinn would. I found some guns, and I'm just shooting them into the air wildly and laughing, and Sparky all around me, his laser eyes going off.
Only in Nebula Jazz would I let a player get away with saying, I found some guns, and I'm just shooting them in there.
I'm just going for it.
Into the air.
That's cool. Yeah.
And giggling, and then Croc's in the back, like so angry, and I'm just so happy. We're so the opposite right now.
Right. So yeah, there is definitely that Batman parallel in that he's like Killer Croc and you're like Harley Quinn, and he's just like enraged and like knocking over houses and stuff. He's smashing the forces of the matriarchy while you're like on his back shooting this laser gun that you got from God knows where into the air to try to draw them away. Okay. All right. So you use your fate point.
Yeah.
And I think that we don't actually see that happening, and all these lizard people scattering in panic. And then back at the palace, you see these two guards, big strong lizard men wearing armor. The Empress's like court armor. They look, and one of them looks at the other, and he's like that sounds awfully close. The other one is like, yeah, but we're supposed to guard the door. And the other one says, yeah, but what if it comes closer? And then he's like, yeah, we should check it out. And then the two of them like scamper off down the causeway. And I think Yahe and Tlochu like take their hoods off and like look up at you, Rex, across the way. What do you do?
Yeah, Rex is just like leaning against the one on the outside door, and he kind of nods like into the entrance, and I think all 4 of us just kind of like slip inside.
Okay. All right. So you want to sneak into the palace through the gates. Now it's you and Eugene both doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I
The
need
4 of us are all together.
Let's get a sneaky roll from the 2 of you.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see how that goes.
As well.
Yeah, and then I'll oppose it with the careful of the guards.
3.
Nice. 3 sneakies. All right, let me roll C. And basically I just the lower of your rolls is the one that I'm opposing.
Oh shit,
cool.
yeah.
Nice. There you go. All right. So what does that look like? Describe the stealth sequence as you slip into the. Feel free to take some poetic license here. Show me Eugene, Rex, Yahe, and Tlochu being sneaky, getting into the palace.
I mean, what I imagine isn't sneaky at all, so I won't go with that. But it's.
I mean, feel free to. I mean, the thing is, you succeed, so you can describe like close calls. Like I imagine maybe like. In this little stealth vignette, right? Like we see you slip into the door past where the guards went, and then later, maybe we see you like sneaking, Yahe and Tlochu and Rex actually being sneaky, and Eugene kind of like bumbling along. And there's a marble bust of the Empress in the hallway, and Eugene, you bump into it.
Yeah, totally.
Like teeter, and then we hear a guard be like, "What was that?" and come around the corner. And the statue, the like bust is gone, and Eugene is just like on the pedestal.
I've like assumed the shape of the bust.
Yeah, and he like walks by and like looks around and doesn't see you, and he's just like,
But as he walks by, he goes, ugh.
Yeah,
I smell like the poop. They're like,
right, totally. Yeah. So he walks by, he's like,
going back to where I'm
yeah,
supposed
and
to
he
be.
and he leaves. Yeah, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So Rex, why don't you give me one? Give me a vignette of Rex being sneaky with you.
I think like the lizards, everyone at some point has like been to the palace, and they know like roughly where the places you're not allowed to go might be, where the dungeon might be. So Rex is kind of following like Tlochu's lead, and it's just like one of those. You see the guards like patrolling, and you see the 3 of them like hiding in the shadows, just like well executed. And then like you see like the guards kind of like turn and they kind of face in. And you see one guard lean to the other and be like, "I'm having some troubles at home." And the other guy's like, "Come on, man, not now. Like you do this every lunch." And the guy's like, "I need to,
where's your jar, bro? I told you.
Talk to about this." And he's like, "Where's your jar?" And he's like, "The jar's not enough." And then you just see like the 2 lizards just like, you see like the shadows on the wall of them just like bonk heads and drag the guards away.
Yeah.
And then you see like the 2 lizards like Tlochu, they come out wearing the guard uniforms, and they're like a bit of a tight fit.
Perfect.
they're like, it's better than nothing.
Right, yeah. What was a full chest plate on one of the regular sized lizard men is like a crop top on
Yeah, it's like
Chlochu,
a crop top on them.
he's got his little belly sticking out of the bottom, and he looks at Yahe, looks at Chlochu, or vice versa, and he's like, kind of like wiggles his gut, and the other one points at it, and he shakes his head, and he's like, now's not the time.
He like does the like belly button mouth thing.
Yeah.
Except he's from an egg, so he won't have one.
And Rex is like, let's go. And then I think as you see like them about to push down the hole, Eugene kind of like shuffles up behind them, and he's like, "Where have you been?"
Don't worry about it. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Let's go.
All right.
Okay, so let's take a break. I've got so many compels that I want to use. I have compels for everybody, but before we get to those,
where's the gold?
Let's take a break here, and we'll have lots more compelling content. See what I did there? When we get back, stick around. More Nebula Jazz in just a little bit.